So let's talk about that. Let's discuss what you guys are talking about, because it's the time of year to have the discussion, right? Where most people talk about what they're going to do next year, what next year holds for them, what their targets are, what their goals are for next year. As a matter of fact, I asked my son to produce to me, he's overdue, by the way, his 3 main goals he wants to achieve next year and how he's going to do that. So as soon as I see him again, I'm going to be asking, because I think it's important to know what direction you're going and have at least a course plotted versus not really having much of any course plotted and just taking the days as they come without much of a idea of what you want to accomplish and achieve, not only that day, but, for the rest of the year. And so, what you talk about is really what we need to do as multifamily owners especially, and really people, entrepreneurs, and what we need to do as not only from a personal standpoint, but entrepreneurial standpoint, and as far as we're concerned, multifamily standpoint. What do we need to do to hit our targets? I'll tell you what I do, and what really helps me. And full disclaimer, what I'm going to tell you is not 100%. So it's not like I hit every single target that I set with no problems. I hit them early. No, that's not the case. So I want to make sure that you understand that that's not the case. But what I do have, though, I think is a formula that has worked well for me in a lot of areas. So, not only from a business standpoint, from a personal health standpoint, hitting the targets there, relationship targets too, and kind of what I'd like to do, a relationship not only with the people that are close to me, family, friends, those kinds of things, but also, our team here at Heartland Companies as we go through another year. So let me give you an idea of what I do, and maybe you can steal some of this information and borrow it. Maybe it can help you too. Okay, so first of all, I start out with an idea of what I want to achieve next year. And I don't get too into the weeds on this, so I make it real simple. So for example, let's just use weight. So I've got a weight goal I want to hit. Here's where I want to be, okay? Asset number, amount of money, amount of assets that I own. Here's the number that I want. So I don't get into an 8-paragraph process. I do write down the top goals I want to hit in each area, which is 4 areas next year. So let's just use an example. So let's say I want to weigh 180 pounds by this time next year. Okay. Let's say I want to own $100 million in assets by this time next year. Okay. Let's say I want to have 3 vacations with Gina between now and next year. Okay, so I got that in. And then let's say I want to attend, I want to attend at least 40 religious services, church services between now and the end of the year. Okay, so let's say I got those locked in. So that's like the first thing I did. So you notice when I gave you those, I didn't go into 5 paragraphs on each. So I think it's important to keep it simple. I don't think you want to get into 8 paragraphs on each one, because the more detailed and difficult you make it, the harder it's going to be to follow. So simple is the plan here. You want to be simple. Okay. So what I've just shared with you there isn't such a big revelation, right? Okay, you got 4 areas. You got 4 areas that you want to hit, and you've got a goal for each area. Pretty easy to do. So nothing, like I said, I haven't made any big revelations here. But the next thing I'm going to tell you is what has really helped me. It's really 2 things, just 2. Number 1 is I write it down. Okay, so here's my little, this is my little journal right here. Here's where I write it down. So it's in writing. It's written down. It's not just up here. Oh, here's what I think I want to do. No, it's written down, written down, written down. Okay, why? So I can go back and refer to it. That's why I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at it and I'm going to refer to it. Now here's the tricky part, but the easy part. I said tricky, but easy. Tricky because if you don't continue to remind yourself of this, if you don't continue to look at it, you're going to forget about it because you're going to get busy. Other things are going to come up. Things you're not even thinking about are going to hit you. And pretty soon, you know, what you really wanted to accomplish in 2022, I mean, hell, by February, March, you've already forgotten about it. So that's why you've got to remind yourself, put it in writing and remind yourself. In my opinion, this is what works for me again. Okay, so I put it in writing so I can remind myself. So I got my 4 things. I've written them down. Okay, here's the key to this, though, for me anyway. Now I break it down into what am I going to do the first 100 days? The first 100 days. Okay, because if you think about it, 365 days down the road is a long freaking time. It's a long time. So I want to chunk it down to attainable steps to get to the end of the year. That's why I chunk it down to 100 days. Okay, so what am I going to do the first 100 days? So now I take that, for example, that the weight I want to achieve, and I use now instead of, so the first 100 days I want to hit, let's just say 188. That's what I want to hit. Okay, first 100 days, 188. Okay, number of assets, amount of assets that I want to own. Remember, my goal in our example was $100 million worth of assets. So let's say the first 100 days it's going to be $75 million in assets. So $75 million the first 100 days. Okay, the number of religious services, church services in my example I want to hit. Okay, I want to get to, in the next 100 days, at least 15. So 15 services I want to hit for the first 100 days. So you see what I'm doing? So I'm chunking down the bigger goals that I want to achieve over the next year into more bite-sized pieces over the next 100 days. So now I'm just going to be focusing on the next 100 days. Okay, the next 100 days. So at least once a week, more often than that, but at least once a week, I'm going to open up my little journal here. I'm going to open up my journal, and I'm going to be seeing how am I doing with that first 100-day goal. What am I going to be doing? How am I doing? What's my progress on each of those goals I'm going to be hitting for the next 100 days? And I do this once a week. Okay? So, let me back up. Okay? Hit the big targets, hit the big goals first. Here's what I want to do in 2022. Okay? For me, I like to go 4 areas. Body, being, balance, and business. I like to go those 4 areas. Okay? So here's what I want to do in those 4 areas, the targets I want to hit in those 4 areas by the end of next year. Okay? Again, not such a big revelation. All right? So you do that. Step 2 is now I chunk it down to 100-day increments. So I start with my first 100 days. So here's what I want to do. Here's the progress I want to make that I think is realistic towards those big 4 goals for the end of the year. Here's the targets I want. Here's what I want to do over the next 100 days. Here are the steps I want to make and the progress I want to make just in the first 100 days to those 4 goals. Okay? All right. So that's what I do. So next 100 days, here's the weight I want to get to over the next 100 days. Here's the number of religious or church services for me I want to hit in the next 100 days. Here's the amount I want to own in assets over the next 100 days. Here's the weight I want to be the next 100 days. Okay? All right. So I do that. Then the third thing is once a week, I look and I see where I'm at. How am I doing? I take the time, I schedule the time, okay, and I have conversations either with somebody, and I'll get to that in a second, I'll talk about that in a second, or I'm having the conversations with myself. How am I doing? Where am I at? Okay, and again, right now, I got the big goals, but then over the next 100 days, I'm just focused on the progress for that next 100 days. So once I jump into that 100-day plan, I'm not worried about end of year. I'm only worried about the next 100 days. So do you see how that focuses you more and how that really works better, in my opinion, on hitting the overall target if you focus on your next 100 days? Okay? Then it doesn't seem as, holy shit, how am I going to pull that off? Okay? Then it doesn't seem like you've got to be scrambling to, you now have a good pace set, you've got a good target set that's probably more achievable over the next 100 days, especially if you review once a week, written down what you're going to be doing and the targets you're going to be hitting over the next 100 days. Okay? Third step on this is, what are you going to be doing, obviously? So what's the plan? So what's the plan in hitting those targets over the next 100 days? What are you going to be doing? So what am I going to be doing to hit my weight target over the next 100 days? So am I going to be hitting the Peloton 3 days a week? Am I going to be getting some body resistant workouts 2 days a week? Am I going to run 3 days a week? So what's my plan? What am I going to do? So now you want to be having a plan on what you're going to be doing and how are you going to hit those 100-day targets. Okay? Again, let me back up, just so we're not confusing anybody. I first of all start with the big targets for year end. Condense it down to chunks of what I think I can hit over 100-day increments, leading to the ultimate end of the year. Okay? So now it's, what targets can I hit over the first 100 days? All right? I know I'm not going to be able to hit my weight target that I want for the end of the year in the first 100 days, but what can I really hit over the next 100 days? Same with the church services I mentioned, same with the assets that we want to own, etc. Okay? Then once I've got that set in place, I make sure I'm going to set a plan to review that once a week. How am I doing? What's the update? Okay, what's the update? Where are we at? How are we doing once a week? Fourth thing then is, what am I going to be doing? What's the plan to hit those targets? What am I going to be doing? How am I going to be doing it? Okay, the weight thing for me, is it going to be running? Is it going to be working out with weights, body weight exercises? Is it going to be running? So it's going to be a combination for me of all three of those things, and I'm putting down here's how I'm going to do it. Okay? Asset-wise, here's the number of phone calls I'm going to be making. Here's the number of offers I'm going to be making. Here's the number of contacts, new contacts I'm getting. Here's what we're going to be doing on a marketing. So I've got that written down. Again, I'm not writing 25 pages of stuff down. I'm keeping it pretty simple. Here's how I'm going to do it. All right? In each one of those areas for me, in those 4 areas, because that's what I have. Maybe you're a one-area person. Maybe you're just worried about financials and money. Okay, here's the income target I want, and that's what you're going to find. Maybe you're 8 areas. Here's religion and finances, and I want a better relationship with my dad, and so here's how I'm going to do that. So whatever it is, you can use this for as many of those targets as you want. I'm just saying, don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. My opinion, again, works for me. All right? So let me give you the last thing that I think is a game changer for this. So in my opinion, if you follow the outline that I've just given you, whether this is personal stuff, multifamily targets, investment targets, net worth targets, weight, body targets, personal, whatever it is. If you follow the plan that I've just given you, I really think, just based on my experience, your ability to hit those targets will be enhanced, or the likelihood of you hitting those targets will be enhanced like 10 times. Because you're laser beam focused now on the here and now in the next 100 days, and you're keeping yourself accountable by once a week visits to how you're doing. And also, you've written out and you've explained how you're going to do it. And you're looking at that once a week. So if you do nothing but that, I honestly feel like you're going to really have a great chance, 10 times the chance of really hitting those targets, and the likelihood that you hit your targets by the end of the year than if you don't. Okay? All right? But let me give you a game changer that I think is important. It really works for me. And it's this. So remember I said once a week I review and go over, see how I'm doing. It really helps if you have also somebody else outside and away from yourself holding you accountable. So somebody else that you're basically reporting to that's holding you accountable. I think that's a game changer. So for me, once a week, pretty much once a week, with some rare exception, I have somebody that I'm having conversations with and I'm reporting how I'm doing. And they're asking me and they're quizzing me, well, why haven't you done this yet? What about, and so now I'm having a accountability conversation with somebody else that's holding me accountable to hit my targets. Okay? And this somebody else is someone that is not super, super close to me. So in other words, I don't have this conversation with Gina. I don't have this with my wife. Okay? Because she loves me and she cares about me and she wants to support me. She's not going to be the hard ass that I need her to be to hold me accountable. Okay? Not that I'm expecting somebody to crack whips and all that kind of stuff, but I want somebody that's going to hold me accountable and do and say the things necessary to hold me accountable. All right? To ask me the right questions, to have the right conversations with me about why haven't you hit your targets? Why haven't you made more progress so far from this week to last week? Okay? Why haven't you made more progress from this week to 3 weeks ago, to 4 weeks ago? Here's like the 4 things you need to do, and here's what you need to do now, and stop making excuses to get going. Now, my wife loves me. Gina's not going to do that. Okay, she's going to give me the reasons why. Oh, here, it's okay. Here's why you haven't been. So I don't want that. I appreciate it, love the support, but I don't want that. I want somebody that's going to hold me effing accountable and be a hard ass when they need to be a hard ass. And I have found with experience that someone like really close to you, like a spouse, brother, sister, somebody like that, that's usually not the best choice. You need somebody that's kind of outside of you, that you respect their insight and opinion, that's going to frickin' hold you accountable. And you want to be having those conversations with them pretty much once a week. Pretty much, even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, that's all it really takes, is a 10 or 15 minute conversation going over your targets and your progress from last week to this week, how you're doing. If you're doing well, what can we do to keep that going? If you're having problems and struggling, what can we do? Here's some ideas on what we can maybe do to help get you ramped up to where you need to be. Again, over the next 100 days. And again, progressing from 1 week to the next. So if you do that, I think that's a huge game changer for you. Again, based on my experience. Okay, based on my experience. All right, so if you follow this methodology over this coming year, and you chunk it down like I say, and you get the accountability person involved, and you commit to getting serious and writing and working on this. The good news is this doesn't have to be a 12-hour session where you've got to dig in and you've got to, produce 40 pages of targets you want to hit and 40 more pages of how you don't need to do that, as I've said. You need to keep it simple. That's the good news. This won't take you 12 hours. Hour or two, maybe. And then as you keep moving along, another hour or two a week. That's it. That's it. You're reviewing, you're being held accountable, you're making whatever pivots or moves you need to make to change, to make things better, whatever you need to do in order to hit your targets on a weekly basis from last week to this week, with the end goal of hitting that 100-day target. And then once you've hit that 100-day target, 100 days go by. Okay, the next 100 days go by. So now we're into April. Okay, we're into April. Now I'm assessing where I'm at. Here's where everything is. I've had those weekly meetings, either with my accountability person or with myself, and here now I know in April where I'm at and how much further I need to go from April to the end of the year, but now I get to look back and see how far I've gone from April back to January. And that can be very, very powerful. And now that builds momentum because I've seen the progress. I've got a good foundation now built to continue to improve over the next 100 days from April on. Okay? So look, again, I'm not saying this is foolproof. Never going to say that. I'm not saying that, you do this and magic is going to happen. Of course not. But there's so many things out there. There's so many doodads and gadgets and all this kind of stuff. When all, in my opinion, you need is this kind of system. And if you commit to what I've mentioned to you, I think your ability and your likelihood to hit those year-end targets go up 10x. And I also am telling you this from somebody that's been there, done that, tried this, tried that. I've done it all, okay? And at the end of the day, what I'm describing to you, I think, can really help you. So here's the challenge I have for you guys here and for you people either watching or listening to me. Here's my challenge for you. My challenge is just give this a try. Give it a shot. And report back to me on how it's going. So over the next 100 days, and by the way, whenever you listen to this, so let's say you listen to this or watch this in, I don't know, let's say April of 2022. Fine, start in April. I mean, it doesn't have to be January 1st, but let me know. Let me know. Hey, Darin, this is working great. I'm getting better results. I feel better, more confident. I'm more powerful. I'm more optimistic. Great. Or if for some reason, Darin, this kind of sucks. It's not doing a damn thing for me, and I'm doing something. Fine. Let me know. Let me know. Would love to hear your stories of progress. Okay? So, can you guys commit to that? Commit to doing this. And keep me posted. And let's see where we are in the next 100 days. Okay? All right.